Wow, that was loud. Okay, since we've started the recording, shall we start the meeting now? It's at 5 past, anyways. Um, okay, welcome to the community meeting for Crow. I'll be hosting today. I'm a maintainer of Crow and a product manager at Google, for those that haven't met me before. Um, it might be a pretty short meeting, but it looks like people are starting to put things in the open discussion section. Before we get into open discussion, um, at the project level, we released version 0.2.2 last week, which includes, as Amin posted in the Slack, 40 patches, bug fixes, and enhancements. But most importantly, contributions from 23 unique contributors, which is way more than the number of people that were contributing to Crow about a month or two ago. So that's awesome to see the growth in contributors and just general interest. I think I can speak for all of the maintainers when I say just the interest in Crow has been huge. Um, I'm just getting flooded with questions about Crow, which is really, really awesome to see. So really cool to see that release. I mean, thanks for announcing that on the Slack. That's the only project level piece of news or update. So unless anyone else has any burning things they want to announce, we can get into the open discussion. So maybe let's start with, or I mean, do you want to elaborate on the latest release?
Yeah, I can add some more details. So end of last week, we cut 0.2.2. No breaking changes, mainly bug fixes and small features left and right. So Crow is getting more stable. Um, a lot of the work was around supporting more CRDs. So basically, we've started supporting CRDs like the Flux one and some CRDs related to Pulumi as well. Anyways, we've received a lot of PRs from other maintainers wanting to bring Pro support, so that's really cool. We've also enhanced how we parse cell expressions and track the state overall inside Crow. And yeah, I think the highlight here is really like how many people contributed and how many PR we received. 17 out of the 23 contributors were first-time contributors. So that's really cool. So thanks to everyone who helped in making the release happen. That's really exciting.
Yeah, that's really awesome. The other thing that I think is awesome with this release, you mentioned the Flux and Pulumi CRDs, because previously, all the maintainers are from the large cloud providers currently. So we were really focused on, okay, let's make sure this works with Kubernetes native resources, and then also our CRDs. So, config connector for GCP, ACK for AWS, ASO for Azure. But then seeing other CRDs needed as well to extend it to other use cases is really awesome. Because the whole idea here is that it's about being native to Kubernetes, so it should work with any other CRD.
Indeed, and maybe I'd like to touch a little bit on that topic. Um, like the reason why Flux and Pulumi CRDs were a little bit special and we didn't have support for them is that um, they use some very special semantics. For example, they don't have like a real schema. They can have literally like it's unstructured data. They can have anything inside. I think in this has a special name in Open API spec. It's just like not coming to my mind right now, but now Crow understands unstructured data. So even though like you bring things that are not really don't have really a schema, Crow is able to parse it and track what everything is living. So that brought me actually into believing that maybe we need to use a one of the Kubernetes libraries. Because we're building our own basically open API and cell parser inside Crow because it's a little bit special to Crow. But I came across a project called kubectl validate in here that validates objects against CRDs. And I was like, hey, maybe there is some API machinery already in Kubernetes that we can reuse in there. For sure, there's like some things we can learn from instead of like trying to implement everything from our own. So like side topic, probably like some of the mid to long term things we want to do in Crow.
Which I think that leads nicely into Justin's question. What are the next big things to tackle? Justin, I suppose you asked the question, having some ideas.
I mean, yes. Like, there are things I would like to add. I have been doing work on Kubernetes for a while, and I have a bunch of things. I'm like, oh, we need this in Crow, but we don't want to. Like many others, we don't just want to dump code onto the project and be like, here's a cool thing without having discussed it first. So like, I was thinking of apply set which is our like better applying and pruning library that we've used in a bunch of other places. But I've also messed with cell. So maybe we should get the cell. We could talk to the cell maintainers or the people maintaining cell in KK and ask them, like, how should we think about cell and what is the right thing to do there? So I guess that is the question. Like, where should I go to look to find out what is wanted? And if there is no place, shall we discuss what is wanted? Or what is wanted next? And yes, thank you. I mean, that is the link. We put it into kubectl in alpha or feature gated, but there's also a library that is more the same code, same approach, that is more amenable to use within a controller. But yes, like we apply set ideas. You have some labels. You can watch on those labels, and you can prune based on knowing what is on the cluster that is not still in the set of things you still care about. And then you can choose, do I delete it? Do I mark it? Do I whatever it?
What I'm hearing there is not so much about the specific question, but how, like, what's the mechanism by which, like, the community and even folks that are active in the project, how do we know what? Yeah. Do we have an aggregate understanding of what's next?
So on that topic, I have a document I'm looking at it right now. I'm going to share with the community this week, talking about where Crow is coming from and where it could be heading. It's mainly like a proposal of like big or major features that we can introduce to Crow. For example, we need to solve versioning. We need a CLI. We need collections. We need conditionals and read-only resources. We need to improve the security of Crow. How can we leverage impersonate the best way so that we can sandbox the execution of things? It's mainly like different dimensions that we could think about as maintainers and contributors. So that's spending on me. I'm not saying we should like only do it that way. It's basically a rough draft of the ideas that we can explore in the upcoming months. And of course, it's open to adding more features from other people as well. It's just more about like, hey, what are the things we hear a lot from the community today? A compilation of that, basically. I can talk to something else as well. One of the mechanisms we have today in Crow is what we call mega features. So, and whenever you see a GitHub issue that has a mega feature on it, it's mega feature in my mind probably means, hey, we need feedback on this, ideally a design document. Let's talk about it. We know that we can write a lot of code, or ask Gemini to write a lot of code, but we ideally want to talk about it before like jumping into like throwing code there. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Justin. I didn't see your raised hand.
I like the critique of Gemini's context window of being extra verbose. That's funny. I do think though that as I mean, you and I both work for cloud providers, so we have a particular usage pattern that is perhaps not as representative of like the end users, and I think there are more end user types on the call, and I don't know whether anyone on the call has a experience or a blocker or an opinion on what I would love to use Crow, but I am missing insert your thing here. Like that would be super valuable for us, I think.
I think the biggest thing for me is just knowing where the project wants to go.
So a mean stock will help there, I think, right? That'd be great.
Do you mean wants to go in the short term or long term? Or both?
Long term is probably more important.
Okay, that's fair. We are kind of working on defining what the set of things are that would make Crow production ready. Because right now we say it's alpha, so don't use it in production. What are the things that need to come in so that it is production ready? That's kind of medium term, I suppose. Long term, maybe this is a bigger discussion, but my opinion is that Crow should be kind of the default way that things are grouped in Kubernetes. Basically, and I would say that's only a kind of a starting position. I think it can actually go bigger than that, but becoming kind of just a standard way of operating Kubernetes is at least very achievable, I think. Would others agree or disagree with that?
I can add to that. I mean, I think something I have said that people have nodded to is that we don't necessarily want this project to grow in scope to be some big universal control plane that you then adopt and learn and use. It's more like the mission was, could we not do that? Do we all agree that there's sort of a missing capability or feature space in Kubernetes? So if we can fill that need as a Kubernetes feature, then other big end-to-end solutions can leverage it, and we can start making that more of like a default or like you said, Nick, sort of just the way it works. So imagine, I think there are other features that we just take for granted in Kubernetes because they've been there for 7 or 8 years. Like, what if one of those didn't exist? There'd be a number of ways to do replicas for deployments. Like, that's a bonkers example. Of course, replicas exist, but like, imagine they didn't. So you'd have 15 different ways to do that. What we want to do is like replica, set replica controller. That's how it works. So I think that's sort of the vision that we've been sharing and we've been communicating. I think what I'm hearing from you is it'd be nice to put that in writing and to make it like a formal statement, and to also vet it with the community. It started with a few of us and it became 6 of us, and now there's like a bunch of people. So everybody has a say. So I think, yeah, if we kind of put that down in writing, so maybe a partner doc to yours, Amin, would be one that's like, and we think this is why. We think that this is what this thing should be long term. And we can also bring that to community, have discussions, poke holes in it, take additions. Maybe I think I just maybe gave myself some homework. So I think there's a few specific people I'd collaborate on a draft with that on, and then we just bring it out. I don't want to bake the whole thing. I think we just write down the ideas and we can discuss.
I actually quite like the example of deployments and replica sets, because I think it is the anti-pattern that helps us define what the pattern is, right? I think there are some resources where we are really want a standardized behavior in how they expand, and some where it's more important or valuable to have reconfigurable, your user configurable behaviors in how they expand. And I think Crow is a great solution for the reconfigurable space. There are still going to be, resources where we want a pod to be a pod, right? And we want a replica set to be a replica set. And if we would not re-implement deployment. Well, we would not change the implementation of deployment to use Crow, but we might create an alternative to deployment that behave differently using Crow. I don't think there's a need for that, but stateful set was an example of where deployment fell short, and there may be others. But wherever I think it may be that Crow is a way to prototype it, and then we decide it needs standardized behavior, and everyone should call the foo a foo. But I think where the behavior is configurable, that's where Crow is that's the space Crow plays in, I think.
So Jesse, it sounds like you have some homework. Do you want to get started on that, and we can all contribute?
Well, the reason I self-assigned is I already kind of have a doc like that. So
Nice.
I think I'll dust it off. I'll run it by a few people, and then I'll just maybe cut an issue in a PR. Maybe that's the right place to discuss that. I'll start with an issue.
We also have our old proposal that we worked on from last year, and a lot of blogs that reuse wording from that. So there's a lot of content out there already.
That's the doc is my iteration on that original doc. So I should say you wrote a doc and I have an iterated doc on it. So you're the person that I will dust it off and show it to first. But yeah, I think this is a good idea. This is because I think we all have that conversation every time we talk about this project. It's sort of like you either have the what is it, or you have the it's this, right? Or it's you're trying to compete with X, right? And it's like, nope. We need to write this down. Yeah.
Bridget, go ahead.
And I did put in the chat, but I also want to clarify, I think that we can iterate on docs, we can iterate in issues. I also think some of us will be at Maintainer Summit. And that is going to be a good time for those of us who are able to sync in real time during the Maintainer Summit afternoon when there are the, informal working groups, et cetera. I think we should mindfully choose some time and make sure everyone who wants to, whether it's people who are on this call or people who are just at Maintainer Summit, let's take advantage of the fact that we'll have a little bit of unmediated real time to continue to iterate on this before we bring it back to the broader community. Yeah.
Have to register for the Maintainer Summit.
Yeah, same.
I'll do that.
I think the next iteration of this call is during KubeCon as well. And we were throwing around ideas about having like a live community meeting or something like that. Were there any
versus not? Yes, those were the ideas.
Yeah.
That is not gonna.
That's a big no.
It has worked in the past. I have been part of things like that before. Bridget equally observed that would be maybe very difficult. So I think we landed at let's not do that this time.
I mean, you have to get space. You have to get AV. You have that's not something you can just decide to do.
Correct.
For something that's happening in 2 weeks from this moment.
Logistical nightmare bucket. Okay.
Yeah.
You should probably just not.
One thing that
said you and not we.
Sorry. One thing that I have seen work is we just say we're going to have lunch at this time, obviously during the lunchtime, and we'll be in this sort of area. And if you want to drop by, and it's not a great place to make technical decisions, but it's a nice way to have lunch together type thing.
I like the idea of that. And if I didn't have commitments that were already telling me what to do with my time, I would be in favor of that. I should point out one place, and I'll put it in the chat as well, but one place at KubeCon that you can 100% guarantee you will find me will be at the SIG Cloud Provider Update, where you will also find Elmico, and you will also find Chef Taco, and perhaps some of these fine folks. And I will put the link. It is at 3:15 p.m. local on Wednesday, and is the SIG Cloud Provider Update. So that is definitely a place that we could call the informal Crow get together. Come to that because we'll be there. And I'll put the link in the chat.
Cool. Thanks, Bridget. Christina, you had a comment about icons and logos. So the update there is actually we want to choose a logo, hopefully today, if everything goes well and we can actually agree on something. Yeah, we want to get to a logo as quickly as possible, so that then we can start printing stickers and things like that. So there's been a bunch of awesome suggestions in that GitHub issue. We'll probably pick something from there, or maybe some iteration of it.
I was more interested. In fact, I was kind of regretting opening this as logo and icons because, as some of folks here might know, I have a things for slides, and because folks will talk a lot at KubeCon, even though I'm not coming, have fun, please, for me. But folks, we talk a lot about that, and I can not take another deck that just says KRO and spells it without an icon. So I was just like, if we can get the icons, I don't know about the stickers and the logo per se, but just to say like these are the icons, I can open a PR and submit them, and then everybody can pull from there.
Noted.
So let me know if you don't decide on the logo and you want me to split this in two GitHub issues, one for icons, one for logos. I'm okay with that too.
What do others think? I think Jesse and Amin, you're kind of leading the logo / icon conversation, no?
I'm probably the wrong person to ask. Every logo I've done has been a drawing by my wife, and I just do it. It's never been democratized, and I tend to put YAML in slides, so I'm terrible.
I mean, to be clear, it's not democratized right now. We're not taking a vote on this call. But the maintainers will definitely decide soon, hopefully soon enough to make logos for slides.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
But I cannot promise that at this moment.
Yeah, no. I didn't mean to imply that. I meant literally I've never had another human have input. I just make it. So it's easier that way. But I think, Nick, I think to your point, let's get this closed out soon. We'll communicate it. Christina heard, definitely. Logos are different from icons. Maybe we can separate them. I like your icons. They're cool.
Yeah, hopefully we don't need to separate them because we just decide on both quickly.
Yeah, we'll loop back. We'll loop back soon.
Ashwin, do you want to talk through your question?
Yeah, can you hear me, everyone?
Yeah.
Yeah, so hi everyone. I just joined the community today morning, and I was exploring through the talks, and so I found a bug, a link was not working, so I will open an issue for that. Other than that, I was since the project is in very early stage, I wanted to suggest about having separation of concerns for the personas. I am not getting the correct idea, but I think the roles of each team should be split how they want to use Crow. So having a sections for different type of roles like platform engineer, developer, or maybe that might help. Using that from the start of the project might help in explaining it well for the later on use. So I was thinking this kind of problem I've seen in other projects as well. So maybe we can start on working that something like I wanted to know about your ideas about.
That's a really good topic. I think what you'll see is that we don't specify personas as much because we're kind of implying platform engineering, but it doesn't have to be that way. And I think you're right. I think you could just point to something where it's like, hey, as a dev, do you want to have these 15 different things to reason about, or would you like 6 lines of YAML? The reality is that somebody has to write the RGD to make those 6 or 8 resources into the 8 lines of YAML. So I think that's kind of where we're starting, but we should be clear about that. I think that's a really good call out. We're defining product or experiences or trying to solve problems with code. It's always good to think about who you're doing this for. And I think it's a little implied right now. So I think we could probably refine that a little bit and be more clear.
Maybe that's something we can put in the the mission and values doc.
Definitely, if you need any help, I am also willing to work on.
Awesome, thanks.
Thank you.
Thomas, you have a mega PR. Can we
Yeah,
talk
I
about that?
just, well, it's not mega in terms of how useful it is, maybe, but it's mega in terms of how many files it touches, because it touches basically everything. I've taken a stab at refining the dev tooling in the Crow repo, and I would love input and opinions on whether this is an approach that we actually like or not. I did in a hack week, so it's not like huge investment, but I have a beef with make files and like lots of auxiliary tooling, and I think that this way of setting it up is easier to work with and maybe may attract more contributors. So what do you think? Should we do this? Should we not? Is there something I'm missing here? Take a look and say what you mean. That's basically it. Yes, make files make me sad too. That's why I did this. It's all done with Go generate and Go test and so on.
Make files are fantastic, Black Magic. What are you talking about? I love make files.
Yeah, but you also have a large gray beard, so I guess that
I'm about to get gray beard on you. Maybe I should just go on mute. All right. No, fair point. And I just want to say, like, I think it goes without saying, thanks for jumping into this. It's a huge amount of really thoughtful work. I have not dug into the actual PR.
No, and I appreciate that it's a big thing that's hard to review because it touches everything. So if there's a way that I can make this easier, then please let me know.
I mean, you did a good job, in my opinion, of breaking it out in different commits, right? I mean, you could cut a PR that just updates all the headers and probably lighten the PR, but also we've done this before and probably can look at commits. But I mean, I think you did the one true thing, which is at least break the functional scopes into different commits.
Yeah, at least tried to make sure that the generated changes are separate from the stuff that generates them. But it's multiple passes and so on. So I appreciate that it can be hard to review.
So I think we mentioned this last meeting and in Slack as well. We need to take some time to actually do some issue triage and get some PRs assigned out. Has anybody no pressure? Has anybody looked at this PR yet? Do we have a gut feeling on it?
I did. It's 4,000 lines of code, but I know it's a lot of the headers in the file, so it's not really super big. But Thomas, really appreciate. I know this is not your first PR, so thanks a lot for all the work you've done in here. I'm personally not married to the idea of using make files, so if there's a better way, we'll take it. And I see that you're using GoTool, which is I mean, I was learning as well about like the Go ecosystem. So thanks a lot for bringing a lot of that in. I'm gonna do a full run into everything. I'm gonna have questions just to understand what's happening. And maybe if Justin, I see Bonnie and Matthew are here as well. If you can also like give a review, that would be really cool. Like this is touching almost everything, and for sure we want to like test it. Maybe I'm gonna test it in my fork just to make sure that the build and release pipelines are self-functioning as expected.
Yeah, that's great. That's one of the things that I haven't really been able to verify as part of the PR work, other than making sure that the pre-merge checks work. But obviously making sure that post-merge actually releasing something works is something I can't do without merging. So, but one thing that I think could be interesting too is to like, I don't know if there's a way that I can walk through stuff or whatever. But obviously I'll keep rebasing and make sure that it's mergeable for whenever someone wants to do that. Typically, a merge conflict is just rebasing on master and then running Go generate again, and that's it. So
that's one of the reasons. I know we have hand queue, but just to loop back, this is one of the reasons we might break a commit out that does all the header updates. If we're all agree with all the header updates, we could do that, merge that, and then you'd have less to rebase.
Yeah.
Anyway, we got hands.
I don't know if I was first, but I will echo that. Like, I think I was scanning through it. It looks like, as far as I can tell, there's a ton of header updates, which we should probably I think they're uncontroversial. I don't think we should get hung up on it. So like I would propose if we split that out, that's an easy merge. And then we will see the other changes, which I think the big one is like switching to co, which I also agree with, but people may have opinions, right? Or people have opinions, right? And I think that's that is a good change, and we should discuss it. And I think just splitting out the headers will make it actually much shorter and will be enough for us to actually discuss the actual issues in this PR. So if you don't mind doing that, I am happy to scan through, review header changes and approve it if others are amenable. And I personally agree with the changes in the overall PRs, at least the ones that I could sort of cherry pick out or figure out. So I think that looks good to me. I think, Co is a great tooling for building things building things on multiple architectures easily. I know there are other alternatives, but it's certainly my favorite right now.
Yeah, I don't think I introduced Co in this. I just took whatever was already being used, but maybe I misunderstood what was being used in the mainline thing.
Oh, did I?
There was a bunch of makefile targets using Co, so I just ported those to use.
Yeah,
forever.
yeah. I mean, but Justin was just extolling the virtues of Co. Let's let him do it. That's fine.
I misunderstood. I didn't. Okay, great, perfect. And that is uncontroversial. Yes, I guess the to the point though, right? Like the large volume of header changes make it harder to see that actually it's just a simple move, right? So yeah, I can go through. I'm happy to go through commit by commit as well and see if there's anything controversial. But I don't see anything I disagree with.
But then that's good. I will try to split out the header change PR to just do that part, and then we can rebase this on top of that and see what's left to do.
All right. I'd like to go next. Hey, like Justin said, this is probably, if you split it out, it'll be easier to review. But that being said, moving away from Makefile is a religious conversion for me. I was wondering, Thomas, I can take up your offer, and if you can walk through the changes, I'm happy to set up a call. Like if folks want to join in, or other maintainers, that's good. Just walk us through what you're trying to do. That'll be a lot helpful for me. All right, thank you.
So I'll elaborate on the makefiles make me sad. So usually makefiles are great for like a shorthand of here are some of the commands that we can shortcut to sort of standardize a repo. And they make me sad when they start to become like hundreds of lines of crazy, weird makefile syntax. And so I wouldn't personally, like, I don't mind projects that have makefiles that are about, the entry point to the make is just a shortcut to calling go blah, 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 go generate something. So you don't have to remember. And it's also a good way to like list what commands are available. But as soon as you start doing real work inside of a makefile, that's when I start to get itchy.
Yeah, when you start doing token injection on build targets, it's just you're doing the wrong thing. Fully agreed. I may have done that many times in the past, but that's not good, and there are better options. So thank you for clarifying. I think we all agree. So yeah, and again, just to loop it back to make it actionable, Tomas, thank you for this PR. I think it's very cool. I love kind of the origin of it coming out of like a hackathon, and you're like, hey, I want to do this thing, and it, just thanks for being here. Very cool. And thank you, Barney, for volunteering to spearhead something to get us all on a call or something. You could pop a huddle or whatever. Make it public. Sounds great.
Cool. That's the last thing on the agenda.
I just wanted to clear the air around makefiles and me. I just wanted to sound like I'm praising everything.
It's all good. Yeah, that's the last thing on the agenda. So unless there's any other topics anyone wants to bring up, the last thing I just wanted to add, Amin's just added something, so we'll get to you in a second. If you haven't added your name in the agenda doc attendees list and want a record of your attendance, feel free to add your name there. Also, I noticed in the last community meeting, which I wasn't able to attend, there were some new people who did introductions. I introduced myself at the start of the call, since there's a lot of people here I haven't met before. But if there's anyone else on the call that wants to quickly introduce themselves and maybe briefly talk about why they are interested in Crow, please go ahead right now. Thomas, can I put you on the spot, actually?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I have maybe 1 minute before I really have to drop. But
Yeah.
I work at Spotify in the platform org here, in a team that builds our platform for declarative infrastructure. And we are trying to help other teams use our platform to sort of expose their platform products. And it's been a struggle to make them build operators, basically. So we're building a bunch of different tooling for them to make that easier. And Crow really fits this niche of I have 5 different already existing Kubernetes supported resources, but I want to combine them and be opinionated on how to use them. I don't want to build the full operator. I just want to specify how to combine these things for my users. So that's like exactly what Crow can do for us. We have a long list of issues that are currently blocking us from using this for real. So we will probably contribute to fixing some of those over time. But that's where I'm coming from. We heard about this from Nick and his team a couple of months ago now, almost.
Yeah.
And we're immediately in love, basically.
Well, that's awesome to hear. And if there are blocking issues, just feel free to open issues as well, and maybe someone else will get to cutting a PR for it.
Yeah, I think most of them are already represented as issues on the project, so it's just a matter of us prioritizing working on them. Awesome. If someone else doesn't get in there before us.
Ashwin, go ahead.
Hello everyone, I'm Ashwin. I'm a final year student from India. I started exploring more towards Go, and so I thought I wanted to learn more towards Go and Kubernetes, and I just saw this project and thought like it's in very early stages, and I want to explore more towards how custom resources and operators work. So like that is why I wanted to try contributing to it. So here I am, just joined today. Looking forward to like working with you.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for joining. Okay, I think that's everyone. I don't see any other hands up, but feel free to put up your hand if you do want to introduce yourself. Otherwise, Amin, do you want to get to your last agenda item?
Yes. So I was thinking maybe we should make this meeting weekly. I don't know if it's a good or bad idea, but it feels like every week we have tons of things to talk about. Pro is still in very early stages. It's still a baby. It needs a lot of care. And I was thinking, hey, maybe we should introduce a Europe time zone friendly meeting. I know for us like that we are in PST time zone or like West Coast time zone. It's going to be a little bit hard, but maybe it makes sense that we have one US friendly, one Europe friendly is also close to APAC. I don't know, I just want to hear your thoughts, see if this is really something we want to consider or not.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, I second that as well.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think this is kind of a no-brainer. There's a lot of interest. I saw that there was a meetup that happened in Tel Aviv where somebody gave a talk on this. A lot of folks in Tel Aviv using this either for dev projects or just playing with it or actually planning to use it more meaningfully. Would love to make something that's not dinner time for those folks. So Nick and I are both East Coast. So assuming that for a while we're going to have a maintainer run this and kind of chair the meeting as, you know, just kind of keeping sure that we're keeping it on the rails and code of conduct is adhered to and all that. Nick and I are both East Coast in the US. That's not hard to do something at, 9 a.m. versus noon. So I think, and I do like, because that way you could still just kind of make it twice a month. It doesn't have to be an all-consuming thing for most people, but giving more options to a broader community makes a lot of sense to me.
And I like Scott's suggestion there that we can maybe like make it end early. So instead of doing an hour every 2 weeks, we can do half an hour, 45 minutes every week. Yeah. So if everybody is okay with this suggestion, I can go ahead and modify the invite, and I will just drop a message on the Kubernetes Slack saying like, "Hey, I'll see you next week," or "We'll see you next week." Um, Speaking of meetings, I was also thinking about another one. I know you all love meetings, so I was like, "Hey, how about another meeting in your calendar?"
This
So
doesn't sound like an engineer. I mean, you sound like a product manager.
product at heart. I was thinking that like, hey, there's a lot of bugs and PRs and technical questions all over the place in Crow. We cannot tackle all of those in the community meeting. Like this feels more about like, hey, we can talk about everything about the community, where the project is heading. But I think just in the last 48 hours, we had like more than 10 GitHub issues and 10 PRs, and things are going sort of all directions. And I was like, maybe we need an office hours for technical questions and really dive deep into PRs like Barney, Matthew, and maybe Justin and I. And I don't know, Scott and a few other folks, whoever want to join, we can like drop by and literally discuss whether we want to like do I don't know, accept like a feature request, or really determine whether something is a bug or not, whether something should be long term or short term. Um, yeah, that's what's crossing my mind. I think maybe it's going to be helpful at least in the next quarter or two. Yeah, Bug Bash Fridays. Love it. Love the name.
Yeah, I would just say I've said in the past, like other projects that I've helped start up and have become like sort of standards and broadly adopted. I think started more with a technical working group before a community meeting, and then we just kind of carry that technical working group on. Um, I think that makes a lot of sense to just have, and I would say like I think in the Slack like we can sort out cadence and time and all that stuff. That could also move around, but I think generally speaking, you'd have a core of people coming, and anybody could drop in because it's a public meeting, right? Um, but just a place to work through some of the larger PRs, like Barney is gonna, has taken point on saying, hey, let's get in a call to talk about Tomas's PR. It could be as well, like come to the Friday meeting if you can. That works. And I do think that we're starting to have a lot more issues and a lot more PRs come in. We have duplicate issues. We could use some kind of housekeeping on that, issue triage coming in, PR assignments, and then like larger bulk PRs that need discussion. I think that all makes sense to have a dedicated place for that. And I don't know that I call it office hours because I think it doesn't set that's not the tone it sets. Like office hours is more like, hey, do you have questions? Come ask. I think you just call it like the working group or a technical working group, something like that.
Yeah, I put in the chat too that I think we probably have to think about moving cadence around and being accessible to different geos and different needs. For
Exactly,
example,
yeah.
you mentioned our community in Tel Aviv. They're obviously not coming to a Friday night event. So, like Tuesday triage, Tuesday morning/afternoon, something like that could be more accessible to the broader community.
Yeah, exactly. I think that makes sense to just think about all of our fixtures being something that maybe we all week, or early, late. Because India, we don't have India in the mix here. And as Bridget and others of us know with KK and Kubernetes meetings, it's like sometimes, hey, I'm getting on a call at 10:30 at night. I'll do that, right? And I will do that. I'd happy to do that to kind of increase the community. So yeah, I think we should think about that in general. Just moving forward. Any of the recurring fixtures just being something that we'd say, hey, do we need all weeks for this?
Yeah, actually, Jesse, that's a good point about Indian time zone. I've had similar reports from sales teams, both in Europe and Asia, saying they're getting a lot of interest in Crow. So we probably will
sure.
have to think about that. Cool. I think that's it for today. That actually went a lot longer than I expected since we didn't have an agenda at the start. Is there any last topic anyone wants to bring up before we close out the call? No? Awesome. All right. Well, we are not having the next community meeting because it clashes with KubeCon. But if you are at KubeCon and want to come see us in person, please come to the SIG Cloud Provider talk that Bridget linked to in the chat. And we'll get that link into the notes doc as well, so you can find it later.
And I think roughly post KubeCon, we'll start doing the alt weeks.
Yeah. Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Nick.
Have a great day.
Thank you all.
Thanks all.
Bye.